Hey guys, today we are doing a PvE tier list for the SR character. I've been playing in the test server way too much and I have run up all the SR character and I've tried to use them in all the PvE mode possible, including Shell, Module, and Ember Track, Multi-Team Adventure, Ethernet Rally, all the good stuff. I try to use as many SR as possible, and today we are ranking them in a tier list. I think you need to think more about the SR you're gonna play with, because these are the characters that you will actually have the resources to invest in. You can probably build like 1 or 2 SSR in the first month of the game, but SR you can build multiple of, and you can max skill, you can potentially max dupe as well. So they're going to be very strong and relevant character in the early stage of the game. We can't say for sure in like 5 months, nobody will know. But for now, some of the SR character are really strong. First, we have Cachi the Guard. So this guy is a very high base speed character and also a solid immunity buffer. So I think he's kind of underrated right now. Nobody really talked too much about him, but I feel like he has a lot of potential to be the one that protect the team from debuff. However, his other skills are not exactly amazing. He has a turn meter pushback and slow debuff, sounds very good, but it's only single target, so he might be really good against bosses. His skill 1 has a chance to decrease enemy crit rate, which is not too crazy because when you face strong bosses, they can actually destroy you without the need for critting. So the skill 1, if they can change it to like attack break, for example, then I think that's going to be so much better. But because he provides a very unique ability, which is AoE immunity for the team, and you can actually prolong the immunity if you have the critical success for skill 3. So he's gonna be a very interesting character. Okay, so I passed all the PvE without going too much into provide immunity for my team most of the time, because you have Linglo, which is going to be a free-to-play healer that can also provide immunity and cleansing and healing at the same time. It's like the best package for an immunity buffer. But I think this guy in PvP is gonna be a very interesting phenomenon. But because Linglo exists and Linglo is free, and you're probably going to invest into Linglo because she is probably the best healer in the game at the moment, then I think this guy is going to be a B tier character, because I don't think he's bad. It's just that because of Linglo, you don't really care too much about him. So you can use him or you can ignore him. I think it's not going to be a huge problem. Next up, we have Fire Chiaki. So this girl is an AoE healer with damage reduction with her buff. So very solid healer, not gonna lie. But once again, there's Linglo, who can do pretty much everything that you need in terms of healing output. So I didn't really need to build this character. So I built her, I use her, and all the time I was just thinking about Linglo. So I think she's gonna be a B tier character as well. Like, you can use her if you want to, but you don't have to, because you don't have to really question the healing ability of Linglo. But I feel like in the future, when you have to run multiple healer in different content like Ethernet Rally and maybe Guild PvP, where you cannot use dupe character and you can only use Linglo once, for example, then you might need to build this fire healer. So I think I'm gonna put her into the A tier, because in terms of healing output, she can do a very good job as a fire healer. And we won't know in the future, will we need to build multiple healer? If we do, I think she's gonna be one of the top character to be built as a healer. Next up, the green Chiaki. So this one is a very decent attack buffer for the team, and if you pull on the Freya banner, you're probably going to get your hands on her as well. So if I use Freya in my dungeon team for speedrun because I can buff attack power, you can also use this girl to do the exact same thing. So I would say she's a very solid character for PvE if you require your team to have an attack buff, and she can also cleanse your team debuff with the skill 1. She can also provide your team with turn meter boost because she can buff your team with a special buff called the 8th Maria, and your teammate can take turn to boost the other teammate turn meter as well. So I think she's a very strong attack buffer and turn meter booster. And if you happen to ditch Freya or you don't pull for Freya for any reason and you have her, I think she's gonna be a very good addition to your team if you want to clear certain content faster with the attack buff. Dinah, oh my god, this girl is gonna go straight into the S tier. So she is an AoE deathbreaker and she's gonna be a very strong character for all the speed dungeon team that you run, because not only she provide AoE defense break which allow you to clear the stage or the boss way faster, she also have an extra damage boosting debuff in her kit, which is the wound debuff, so she can land that all at the same time potentially in the very first turn, allowing your team to do massive amount of damage. And she also bring more debuff in that skill 3, which is going to be like extra damage with the erosion debuff as well, and her skill 1 steel turn meter, so she's amazing into bosses. I love using her in almost everything I do, because having AoE defense break into AoE damage is one of the most satisfying thing you can do in this turn-based game. So I love Dinah so much. Diting, the sniper guy. So he is a dark or purple. How do I call this? I'm too used to calling these characters light and dark. So he is a dark character that can do strong single target damage and provide debuff that boosts his own damage. Very solid character, but I think his damage output is a bit lower than Victor, so I cannot put him into A tier. I've been trying to use him and Victor, and I always think that, or I always saw with the same rune build, similar quality, or gear module build, Victor dish out more damage than this guy. But you can use them together to have the two very strong single target damage for bosses. But if you pull like Rosa, for example, you probably don't have to do that. And Rosa can provide a crit rate buff for your auto damage dealer. So he's a solid unit. If you don't have Victor, you're probably going to be using Diting, because he is a dark character, right? What do you call this thing? Disorder character. You can use him in all content. You don't have to worry about elemental disadvantage, which is a very good advantage for, let's say, low spender, free-to-play character, free-to-play player, because when you can build one character for multiple purpose, that is the best outcome possible. You don't want to build too many things in the early game or mid game, for example, because you want to spend the resources to build some PvP characters, but that's all the fun, right? So you can build this one guy and then you can use him across so many different bosses to do good single target damage. Dorothy the Wisher. So she is different than the Dorothy you get for free in the early game. She buff crit rate and leech, which will allow your damage dealer to heal. So she might be good for dungeon run like Module and Shell, but if you have a proper healer, you don't really have to worry about your damage dealer need to leech health back from their damage. Like, it'll be great to have, but it's not like it's very important. Her skill 2 can be a very strong skill to allow your damage to go again, to do the ultimate skill once again, because she can reduce that unit skill cooldown time, so you can get your damage dealer ult back quicker, and she can also buff crit damage. However, because her other skill doesn't really help your team to do like speed run type of thing, if they can change her leech buff to like some sort of damage boosting thing, that'd be great in my opinion. But I don't think she's gonna be very relevant early on. But because of that skill 2, I think she has potential to be very good in endgame speedrun, because let's say your entire team move and then you allow her to boost your damage dealer to move again immediately, you can have a very fast run and reduce the cooldown for that damage dealer as well. So I want to put her into the B tier for now. I think she's terrible. It's just that she has potential, but I didn't feel like I need to use her in any of the content anyway. The free healer, I want to put her into the B tier because you're probably going to ditch her very soon. She's not very good for anything in particular. She's not bad. It's just that she's not very good. Like, you're going to use her in the first 7 days, and then the moment you get your hands on laying low, you're probably going to forget about her until the content or the game require you to build multiple healer. Then you will suddenly remember that, oh, you do have an extra healer and you don't have the fire Chiaki, for example. Then you're going to play with Dorothy. because you had to, not because you want to. Fangus. This guy is an AoE dot, and his skill 1 can put dot as well, and he can follow up after all the damage dealer to put dot on the main target. He can put AoE slow debuff as well. If you are a fan of the dot playstyle, then this guy can be quite a unit because the amount of dot that he can put. But then his AoE dot is kind of bad compared to a single target dot because he can team up, he can follow up after another damage dealer take their turn and then put a dot on the main target. But I feel like if you don't own Sania, you probably don't really like playing with this guy because the dot that he can put out, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Like, he can put some dot, but then he doesn't put like a crazy amount. And he definitely need the Shadow Sania to really maximize the damage output that he can do, because she can extend the dot duration, which is really, really good. And I feel like if you own Shadow Sania, he's gonna be like A tier or maybe even S tier if you own Shadow Sania. If you don't, then I feel like he could be anywhere from C to D. But I'm going to put him into the C tier because if you play Obol with him and you run some sort of cooldown reducing unit, then they can keep putting out dots at a decent amount. But you have to combo them together. So this guy is a bit harder to rate independently because he's a very team-dependent unit, in my opinion. So I'm going to put him into the B tier. Gray. So, free-to-play damage dealer that is green. Very good in Terramaton. Very good in Doki Doki. And I think overall a very solid PvE damage dealer. Not the craziest damage output, but great support sub DPS type of character. The crit rate buff is going to be amazing because that reduce the need to build higher crit rate on your team, especially if you run Remoka in Doki Doki with him. You can build Remoka at 55 crit rate and then put all the other stats into crit damage. He buffed 30%. The elemental advantage give you another 15 in Doki Doki. And then you have a very strong Remoka without investing too much into critical rate. And he himself is a very solid damage dealer as well. So I'm going to put him into the A tier because you're going to be using this guy a whole fucking lot in Terramaton, in Doki Doki, and in your general gameplay. You're going to be using this guy in story mode or whatever. Green Kazuyo. So this girl is the AoE sleep character. I wouldn't say sleep is amazing in Ember Track or other content because you can wake the enemy when you attack them. In Dungeon Run, especially in Doki Doki, she's going to be S tier. Like, if you're only talking about Doki Doki, she is S tier because she allows your team to do damage by breaking the enemy damage reduction buff. You can only do that with control debuff, and she is one of the only character who can have an AoE control debuff and single target with skill 1. If you run Kraken, for example, you will realize that Kraken skill 3 and skill 2, long cooldown. And when Kraken have to use skill 1, the defense break doesn't really do much about the enemy damage reduction. But if you sleep them with her skill 1, then they can be damaged properly once again. So if we are talking only Doki Doki, then she will be S tier. But overall, I would think I'll put her into the A tier simply because she is so good in Doki Doki in particular. If you use her outside of Doki Doki, you're going to find sleeping the enemy very annoying because you kind of want to attack them. But then if you run like a single target damage type comp and then you sleep them and you kill them one by one, then that wouldn't be an issue. However, a lot of harder boss stages, the boss are immune to most control. Even the minions of the boss are immune to control. You can taunt them. That's why Tiamat is very popular, but they are immune to other type control. So I can't put her too high, but she's a very important character in Doki Doki. Fire Kazuyo. So this character is like a budget Lily or Doki because she has an AoE speed buff that reduces your entire team cooldown. And that combined with the endgame shell that either reduce your cooldown by 1 turn or reduce your entire cooldown, she can reduce a lot of cooldown for the team while keeping your team fast. So when you have slow debuff on the enemy team, you have speed buff on your team, and you have reduced cooldown on your team, you will cycle so much more than the enemy team. That will allow you to keep controlling them, putting dots on them or do damage on them. So she's a very underrated support character. So if you like Doki Doki, you like Lily, you like their cooldown support ability, then this is a unit to look out for. And you don't have to like super invest into her, and she can do a very good job at supporting your team with cooldown reduction. She can strip too, and she can put slow debuff on the enemy team. So overall, a very, very good character that is overlooked by many people in my opinion, but because in the beta we have very limited resources, so I wouldn't blame anyone to not build a lot of SR. But after playing with her in so many content, then I can feel that she might not be like a great unit for speedrun dungeon, but for all the PvE content where you have to actually fight a long battle, she's an incredible choice in those content. Kraken. Do I even need to talk about this guy? He is so freaking popular in both PvP and PvE. I think he deserves to be S tier. That AoE freeze, that single target freeze, that defense break for bosses. He is a very popular character in Doki Doki, and a very popular character for every other PvE mode, because he not only provides your team with control, but damage boosting capability with the skill one as well. So a very solid character that I think everyone who has this guy is going to invest into him, because he's going to be relevant in all PvE. No, not really all PvE. Not like Super Dungeon Run. Like not Aurora, not Terramaton, but the other PvE and in PvP as well. He's like one of the best SR in the game. Marvell. Oh my god. Another big hitter. So this guy was introduced in the recent final test, and he has been making a lot of wave in the community, calling for nerf as well. Like, that is crazy. So this guy has a insane base speed, and his skill 3 push back enemy turn meter and put a slow and resist reduction on them. And then his skill 1 and skill 2 are also control type as well. He's a very control focused character. He's a very good character in all 3 of the module dungeon. You can use him in there to make your team safer, because he can control the boss for you. He's so relevant in all other shell dungeon, in all amber track, in all Ethernet rally, in everything, in PvP as well. So he is one of the best. Like, if there's a S+ tier, he's gonna be that character right there. He's really good, and people are calling for nerf, but honestly I think he's gonna be fine. The moment you start putting on immunity module, you will realize that, oh, being outsped by Marvell is not that crazy, because you have whole team immunity. They outspeed you, he can't do anything if your entire team have immunity. But in PvE, they don't have immunity. So you can go straight in, control the enemy team, and absolutely smash them with either dot or damage. Do whatever you want with them. It is a very strong character. If you're re-rolling, I highly suggest you keep Marvell as one of the target. Obol. Obol is another character that's very similar to Fangus, which is he's very team dependent. If you run dot team, you're gonna love him a lot. If you don't run dot team, you're gonna love him too, because unlike Fangus, he has a stun and a strip in his kit. He can get you through certain stages if you require to dispel enemy buff, so he can go first and do that. He can also AoE dot and stun, so allow him to do damage while controlling the enemy team, and skill 1 can also put out dots. Very good character, but I would say not super good like Kraken, because his dot only lasts 1 turn with the skill 3, very long cooldown. If you have Shadow Sania and you like the dot playstyle, I'll put both Fangus and Obol 1 tier higher, and then Shadow Sania is going to be the S tier. But if you don't like the dot playstyle, you don't have to play him. Okay, you can use dot in Aurora, you can use dot in Doki Doki. If you have Shadow Sania, the run is going to be very fast, they're all going to die. Damage reduction in Doki Doki is meaningless against dot damage, so he can be used there as well. Very strong character, and I think he's also one of the SR that you really need to look out for. If you want to build him, you're going to be using him a lot. Oboro. Oh my gosh, she has such a good design. She's the samurai lady that is very cool. However, her damage output, very underwhelming. Her bleeding debuff will deal like dot damage, but is equal to the attacker attack. And in PvE, where the enemy HP go way up, the bleeding become way shit. Not very strong, and her defense break is okay, but her total damage output is not super amazing. You can use her in Aurora because she's a blue damage dealer, but she's gonna be used in other module content, and I think she's a very good damage dealer for Shell Dungeon as well. She might be usable in like Union boss, but I think you're probably not gonna touch her because she's not like a super top tier character in endgame. She's the kind of character that looks really good, but you only build her when you are endgame and you're looking for fun project to raise and have fun with. Then she's probably gonna be one of those character. But unfortunately, I don't see myself investing into this character at all or ever because yeah, she's just not that good. Not a lot of damage, and the utility kind of suck as well. RC. Oh, AoE blue defense breaker. Very good. So similar to Gray, he's going to be like a sub DPS, more focused on utility kind of character. One of the highest base speed in the game. So you feel like you want to outspeed Marvell in PvP. You can put your best speed set on this guy and stun Marvell turn 1. Defense break the entire enemy team and cleave them with whatever you want. So can be a very, very strong character and can be very good in Ethernet Rally where you have to build different team. He's going to be that AoE defense break guy. You can also use with AoE defense break in other content as well. Unfortunately, not good enough. You can probably use him in Doki Doki. You can take out Gray and use him as an AoE defense break, but you will still need other control character anyway, and he doesn't buff the crit rate like Gray. So not a huge fan of this guy. I don't know if you're going to need him early on because you have Gray. Okay, and in this game, elemental disadvantage is not that crazy. You can still AoE defense break with Gray, regardless of the enemy elemental situation. You might still land defense break on a red character, for example. So I think he's gonna be sitting at the B tier for now. I don't think I'm gonna invest into him in the early game if I have come across him. If I have Dinah, I'll probably forget about him until I realize that, ooh, I need a bit of a diversity in my roster, so I'm going to start building him. But I wouldn't invest into him early. He's a strong character, but not strong enough to be very special in any certain utility. Like Dinah boosts my damage to sky high. This guy is like a mix in between making them a bit weaker, and he also has attack break, but overall, I think Dinah is just a better support for like doing the run faster. This guy is probably going to be relevant in future guild PvP, for example, or other content where you need a different roster. Then he's going to be the guy. Blue Oniga, Rin the Unbowed. So this character is a speed scaling damage dealer. She has AoE damage that will buff her own speed, and the more speed she has, the more damage she can do, and she also can slow single target. But I didn't really need another glass cannon. There are so many glass cannon characters that you can't build them all. You only need like 1 or 2 of them, and she's another glass cannon. She can be used for Aurora if you want like a blue damage dealer, but her damage is not going to blow your mind immediately. It's going to be okay, and the fact that she needs to be like way faster to do good damage might not be easy in the early game because you will mainly get your speed in gear substat and shell substat, which you cannot get immediately. So I would not invest into her, but her damage output looked okay with like end game gear. So I think she's more going to be like a PvP character. So I'm going to put her into like a C tier situation. Decent damage output though. I think better damage output than Oboro, but still not going to be something that I would invest my resources in the early game. The Order Rin. What do I call this thing? Rin. No, this one is just Rin. The other one is Rin the Speed. This one is Rin the Tiamat, but from Wish.com. She can AoE taunt, she can shield, and she can taunt with skill 1. So literally, Tiamat from Wish.com, from Walmart. Not super crazy. If you use Tiamat from your target banner, you probably never need to touch this character, but probably going to be something that you're going to build in the future if you really care about diversity in your roster once again. So not something that I would invest in. I would probably stay away from this character and probably not going to use her in anything in particular, but might be wrong, might be good in the future, who knows, but not impressed. Even with endgame gear, not impressed at all. Sania. Oh, one of the most popular SR healer in the game. More popular than Dorothy, more popular than Red Chiaki because she can revive, she can passive cleanse. Very good healer for whatever purpose you want to do. I would say raw healing output. I think Chiaki is gonna be a better healer in terms of raw healing output. But in terms of utility, like revive and cleanse, then she's better. Sania provide more utility, less raw healing output. I think Sania's gonna be in the A tier. If you want to main a healer, beside Linglo, then she's gonna be that one healer as well, where you're gonna be investing your resources in because you will use her in PvP as well. So taking into consideration the multi-dimension, multi-purpose of this character, I will put her into the A tier. Very, very solid SR character for PvE and in the future transition into PvP. Tsutomu, single target green damage dealer. Supposedly good for Teramaton, but you're probably going to be using Lian and another red damage dealer. Maybe some of you guys will be using Chloros, some of you guys will be using Diting, Victor. I don't think you're going to be building this guy. I heard from Vulcan that he needed this guy because he didn't have Hendrik and he needed the anti-buff from his skill 3. So his skill 3 can put on wound, no, not anti-buff. No, that is anti-buff. He can put on wound and block in the skill 3. So it's like a budget Hendrik because you can use that to block the buff from the enemy boss or whatever and block the heal as well, which can be important for certain stage, but not something I would invest in heavily in the early game. So because he's a niche character, I'm gonna put him into the B tier because I trust Vulcan, okay? Vulcan is the man, and he said that he built this guy to pass that one stage for the one purpose, and that's pretty much it. So he had his use, and I tried the endgame gear on him to do damage in Teramaton. It was okay, wasn't really good. I would not really use him. If I can, I'll probably ignore him, to be honest. And I don't think I'm gonna use him in any of the other Ember track stages. So I think he's gonna be like a very niche character. You know what? It's my tier list. I'm gonna knock him to C, okay? Because I want you guys to build things that can be used in multiple different stages of the game, multiple different purpose, and actually have a real use instead of a niche use. But maybe I'm wrong once again. He has that one use here and there, but I'm not sure whether I'm gonna use him or not in the future for anything particular. Because if you can cheese a certain thing, you can probably have a proper way to deal with it too. Victor, oh my god. S tier single target DPS of the game. So in the S tier, we have the S tier AoE setup, S tier AoE control, another S tier AoE control, and this guy is S tier single target damage of the game. He does so much damage to all the boss that you only need a single target damage kind of guy. He is no joke. Even though he looks funny, he's one of the strongest single target damage dealer in the entire game, and he's just different. Look at all these characters. Anime, handsome, anime titties. And then there's Victor, the Giga Chat. Very cool character and actually very usable in the shell dungeon like Teramaton or Aurora and other shell dungeon because they are mostly single target bosses. Victor just slapped the shit out of them. You can also use Victor in the Ember track in the boss stage. Very, very strong character. Definitely gonna be insane in guild boss, insane in what do you call that, Phantom Theater, where you have to hit one of the Inugami, whatever that thing is. Very good character for single target. If I can only invest in one single target damage dealer and I have Victor, it will be Victor. No question asked. Incredibly strong. Viper. So the main place where I used Viper was Aurora because you need a blue character to strip Aurora buff in the end game. Before that, you don't need that. Okay, before you reach Inferno, you probably don't need that, but probably in like 10 days, you're probably going to need Viper. Viper, AoE strip, very strong debuff with slow and attack break. Probably going to be super useful just with the slow and attack break to keep you alive in Ember track. And other content as well, you can definitely use Viper. And Viper will transition into PvP. So Viper is also one of the S tier SR character because in all these, this guy is the single AoE strip character. I think he's the only person on the list right now that AoE strip. AoE, okay? The red Kazami can single target strip, but this guy is AoE strip, which is very rare in the game at the moment. The second option which is also the best option, is like Hendrik. And then there's another character that is the Red Mia, also AoE strip, but then those are SSR character. This guy, right now, in the tier list, is the only character that AoE strip, if I'm not wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. Please, I'm not wrong, right? Very, very good. Very unique offering in this character. So I'll put him into the S tier. Very, very good. So Turandot can strip single target, solid skill, but I heard from Vulcan that this girl has stupid AI because she has a attack and defense buff in skill 3, which she will always prioritize. And in endgame dungeon, you need her to strip before she buff. And she doesn't do that. And she buff first. So if you can influence AI, then she can probably gonna be better. And I don't think you're gonna need her. I feel like she's like budget Freya with attack buff and defense buff. I don't think you need her a lot because she doesn't bring anything unique to the team. And if you're talking about defensive support capability, then you have Linglo. And you might be using Freya as well because everybody gonna pull for her because she's the first banner. Then you have 2 support slots on your team. You never touch this character. I'm gonna put her into the C tier for now because her utility is not bad. It's just that she has no slot in the current meta and her AI is still kind of wonky for like endgame dungeon run, for example. And lastly, we have Yang. So Yang is attack buff, crit rate buff in skill 2. Very good for endgame dungeon run. Skill 3 can boost your team turn meter. Also very good for endgame dungeon run. But outside of that, not really. You don't need attack crit rate to survive in other harder PvE content. The supportive capability is definitely going to be like Union Boss because you want to do more damage and endgame dungeon run. So I'm going to put Yang into the... maybe into the B tier because a lot of you guys will be using the green Chiaki, even though her main color is like blue. You're going to use her for attack buff. You're going to have another support. You cannot put another support in there. And his damage output is not very good. It's okay. Even with his own buff, it's okay. If they buff him to gain an extra turn like Gray, so that he can buff his team with crit, and then he can skill 3 to dispel buff and increase turn meter, he will be instantly like super high. But right now, he will buff your team, and then you need to have other unit to do the utility like turn meter boost and then the spell buff. If he can be like Gray and they buff him to give him the extra turn, then I think he's gonna be in the A tier. But for now, I'm gonna put him into the B tier because of his potential. I didn't feel like I need to use him in other content at all, but he will still have the crazy potential to be so much better with a small buff from future balance patches, for example. And that is it for the PvE tier list for the SR character. Do I agree or disagree with the current placement at the very end? Let me take a look once again. I really like the S tier. I use all of them all the damn time. The A tier, I use them a lot as well. Very solid character. The B tier. Alright, if I'm being like super duper honest, I will probably put these lower. Okay, because I didn't really use them or feel the need to use them like at all. And I will probably put like this probably even lower. Something like that. If I'm being like super duper honest about like personal feeling, then I use the B to S or like A to S, to be honest, a lot. I didn't really use B to D a lot. After using them, I felt like they were kind of mid. But A to S are like, wow, very good character. Would definitely invest into them. So that's going to be my tag. Okay, I almost forgot about Valerian, but honestly, her whole utility seems like a lot. But then when you actually use her, she doesn't do a whole lot. She doesn't protect the team really well or make the team move forward in a very good way. Like, it's kind of random with her buff, and her defensive capability is not that good. So I wouldn't waste a slot in my team for her. And then even in the final test beta, I didn't really use or see anyone use her in any capacity at all. Even though she's given if you spend money in the game, I feel like they could have given you like Victor. That could have been a much better thing. So anyway, I'm gonna put it into the detail. You know what? After playing even a bit further, I'm gonna put Rin the speed scaling damage dealer single target to like B tier, mainly for Union Boss and Aurora. But if I have Victor, I'm probably not gonna build her early on. Like maybe later in the game, not early on. Might change in the future. Who knows? This kind of game change all the time, and I'll update my tier list in the future. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.